Welcome to our podcast series Sci-ROI Tales, a brand new avenue of Sci-ROI to feature STEM professionals from India to share their stories with our members. I am Bhashwati Sengupta, currently a postdoctoral scholar at Ohio State University, USA, and an active member of the current Sci-ROI leadership team. Today, I'll be hosting the first episode of Beyond Academia Stories series. Today, we have with us Dr. Sohini Basu Roy from JoVE. Today, she will be sharing her transition story and her recent experiences in Indian science communication. Sohini Basu Roy received her bachelor's degree in chemistry from St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. Following this, she did her master's in IIEST Shibpur with the specialization in organic chemistry. In 2015, she chose to work in the branch of supramolecular chemistry for her Ph.D. She joined Jadavpur University for her doctoral research and mainly worked in the development of different types of chemical sensors. Simultaneously, she worked as a guest lecturer in Jogomaya Devi College. After completing her PhD in 2018, she moved to the University of Massachusetts Amherst in the United States for her postdoctoral research. During this time, she was developing platforms for the POC device for real world high throughput drug screening platforms. She also worked as a DBTRA postdoctoral researcher at Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research after returning to India. Besides her research career, she was throughout following her passion towards science communication by working on blogs and doing freelancing. In 2021, she joined the Journal of Visualized Experiments or JoVE as a subject matter expert. We are very glad to host you on our podcast, Sohini, and a warm welcome to you. We will now start with the question answer session. Okay, welcome Sohini to our podcast. I'll start with the questions now. So, my very first question will be: what was your motivation behind this decision to move from research to SciComm?
So I would thank you for the first answer, but I just want to mention that this is not a certain decision I have taken. It is a decision which came along with me, which grew along with me throughout my research career, throughout my different experiences which I gathered throughout my research career, as well as throughout other job experiences which I had. So first, it came in the time when I was doing my masters. I was spending a lot of time in the it like in masters we have to spend 1 year or sometimes 6 months for the research project, right? So in India, so in that case, when we were spending a lot of time, so family members used to ask what exactly experiments are we doing. At the same time, when we are doing PhD, there was a time when people used to ask me what experiments are we doing. So that is the time I realized that there is a large gap between the scientific community and the non-scientific community. When we are trying to explain there are certain scientific terms which we really cannot explain them, and sometimes when we are explaining in a language, we are making. I used to think that I'm really not making sense in terms of science. So that is the time I realized there is a huge gap and I wanted to work on that. But I never knew that the gap is science communication. But I wanted to work on that gap. So again, during my PhD, when I was working on certain project, I was publishing articles. I realized during my publication, I used to communicate with the editors and the reviewers. I realized that there is also another section of the community who is working in the back end of the publication and also working on the quality of the article. The reviewers too, also the editors are also working on the quality, the technicality scientifically, and at the same time making all the researchers to come back into one particular journal and working on them. So I felt that there are certain positions also available in the science community which we are not aware of and which could be a part of it, which I am not aware of. I shouldn't say we, I was not aware of. So I felt that this is a place where I can work on. And this passion also grew more when I joined my postdoc. So when I joined my postdoc, I joined under a professor. chief editor of Biokinetic Chemistry, which is one of the renowned journals. So I saw him going through all the procedures. I felt that how he developed the means how he has a very very good way of the procedure of going writing means procedure of um, making a publication work or the different procedures of the whole journal to go. So when I saw that, I really had the inclination to go into that, and that is the time I started looking into opportunities. I started looking for people who are working on these fields, and because as you know, the science communication have different layers, and I was looking through all the positions, and then I really got interested into this field, and I realized that yes, I could, this could be a part of it, because I was before when I also was a guest lecturer during like my PhD. I was a guest lecturer for 3 years, and that was the time I realized that teaching is not what I wanted to do, because it's the same thing we are just going through years after years, teaching the students the same thing. So I wanted to do something different, and I also was not very much inclined to do lab-based work in the industries throughout my life. So this is something where I was doing science, and at the same time, I was doing something which is out of the community where people are doing. So this is something I got interested with, and I was very lucky to go through some other profiles to meet some people who was working in some different zones. And of course, I met Manali, and I saw that she is also going through the same thing. She wanted to do something different. So that really helped me in a different way. And that was the time. So as I mentioned, it was not a sudden decision. It grew along with me. And at the end, that the passion which I had, I made it to a career, or made it to my living actually.
Thank you so much, Shahini. I am sure a lot of us will relate to your story. A lot of us who don't like teaching, or who don't want to wear a lab coat and do experiments every day, but still they want to be connected to research somehow. So this is really helpful. So I'll go to my next question. Can you tell us something about your planning, like what kind of planning went into the move, what sort of decisions had to be taken for or prior to the move?
Yeah, actually, as I mentioned that I was this. You can also feel that in if you're staying in research, there is nothing like planning doesn't go in like that. So it is like it's just it happens, or means planning doesn't work out in the sense, because everything is not our hand in terms of experiments. And like when research work is there, it is not on our hands. If you want to complete it by 2 or 3 months, it can get extended. So I think planning like that will not work here. But yes, of course, we can make a chalk out a plan, so that we can just get guided by that. So in my case, what I did was, if you are trying to, in my case, and I think I would share this because I think it went for a successful, it was successful in my case. So what I did was, if you're trying to work out, if for someone who is coming back to India, who is trying to get a job in India, I think you should be preparing yourself before 1 year. Because if you're, why I say 1 year? Because 6 months is to be taken to wrap up your work. And I'm just saying 6 months, it could be 8 months for someone, it could be 1 year for someone. Because a lot of things are there. A lot of, as I mentioned, that the research work is not in our hands. Things are sometimes not in our hands. Papers are not sometimes in our hands. So that is why mentioned 1 year, so that you can wrap up your work, you can plan your work accordingly. And at the same time, for a profession where which I chose actually, in case of science communication, you have to wrap up mentally also. Because today also I miss some of the lab based works. I miss those I miss those measurements I used to do spectroscopically. I miss the miss the synthetic procedures I used to do, I measurements and everything. So mentally you have to wrap up yourself also that I'm living this. Okay, so all the PhD works for which I did, if you're because I come from an organic synthetic lab, so I used to do a lot of those type of things. So I was mentally preparing that I have to stop this. So I would say 6 to 8 months of that time need to be taken on that. And then when you start thinking of getting a job, or if you're returning back to India, if you're applying for any fellowship which is related to job, then I think you have to prepare yourself with some documents. Like you have to prepare yourself first. In our case, when we are like looking for science communication, is resume, because this is a corporate job we are looking for, and there the resume has to be, because in research we explain a lot about our publications, we explain what are the conferences we attend, but when you are applying for a corporate job, this doesn't work. So you have to be very crisp, you have to be very to the point in your resume. So, and this preparation needs also a lot of time, because the first application you did, and when after 3 months you look at the application, you will literally think what I have done. So, and this, there is no protocol for it, or there is nothing. You have to, after each and every application, you get mature. And when there will be interview, you will come to know that this is better. And sometimes, connections also helps you when you meet someone very influential, or someone who is on this jobs for 2 3 3 years, they can also guide you. So this type of things also happen, so you have to prepare yourself with documents. And also, for example, people who are applying for postdoctoral positions also, we know that there are different ways of presenting the, because there are because at the end I came to know that if we send one particular PDF file containing all these documents would help. So with each application, with each journey you learn. So this also takes a little bit of time. So you have to keep that time also. And at the end, of course, the time which is taken for the application procedure, you have to apply randomly. I'm not saying randomly, because if you choose that, yes, I'm going to apply for this particular position, if you have different companies on this application, you have to apply randomly. And there will be, like, if you apply for 10 positions, only 2 will come for interviews, and you have to go through the interviews, and then the procedures come for the application. So this is like 1 and 1.5 years of time is needed, and you have to prepare yourself through each of this. I would say the, like, wrap up things which I mentioned, and then of course preparing yourself with the documents in the sense of, like, if someone is applying for the faculty position, as I have seen my husband, he was preparing himself for those projects and everything, project writing. And in my case, when I was applying for the science communication, I was preparing with certain of amount of writings also, that yes, these are some of the samples which I can write as a, white paper, or this is one of the articles I have presented in blog. So these are some of the things you have to prepare yourself. And at the end, of course, through the application procedure, where you have to apply in multiple companies you are applying, and the interview procedures will grow. So this is a matter of 1 and 1.5 years, like that.
Thank you so much, Shohini. That helps a lot. Now, going to the next question, what resources helped you the most to collect information regarding open positions during your job search?
Uh, I think actually, because like I will explain what I did in my cases. So since I was very much fixed for the science communications, and as I mentioned, there are different layers of it. For example, there are layers of journal, there is layers of education, there is layers of journalism, and there is also a post called science communicator. So there are different divisions. So each and every divisions have different expertise needed. So if you are a writer, someone will look at your writing skills. And then the writers, their writing positions are also different types of writing position. There is also a person who is writing for a particular articles which will help the student to gather information about a topic. There is also articles which would help in the manuscript preparations, and at the same time there are writers which also help other writers for manuscript preparation. So there are different layers. So you have to be particular that what you are looking for, and if you are particular what you are looking at, then of course what do is we go inside the, like in my case I would just name one: social media. LinkedIn helped me a lot. So what I did was, if I was particularly looking for, in my case, I was looking for to get into the company of JoVE, which is Journal of Visualized Experiments, because I felt that it was growing a lot. Because from my postdoc days, I saw that it had grown a lot, and it was opening multiple positions. So I was very much looking into it, that so that I get into the company. So I was seeing the positions which were there, and then automatically I contacted or connected to the person who was there with that particular positions, and also gathered some information which is needed for it, and also prepared myself for that. So this is very common thing. So each and every, like right now, I think Twitter and LinkedIn is means such a means. I would say this is a good social media where we can gather so many information. So you can directly, like right now I was looking for a position, and I was very much in I was very much interested what that position actually holds, and I just contacted certain people and I just gathered some information there from there. So I think it's not very difficult, since to get information from there. And of course the websites are there, they always give information that what type of things are there. And if you are very much looking for a position, and for certain people are doing that, just follow their profile, just see how they have gone through certain years and how they have worked through. You can just follow them, so you will get information in that. So I don't think that will be much difficult for anyone to do that.
Okay, nice. That's positive. Actually, it's not a lot of a lot of work. So, but I'm sure there will be some roadblocks, right, that you face during your job search process. Can you tell us about it?
Uh, See, I won't say that as a roadblock, okay? Because, for example, I'm just giving, because I take things very positively, and that's why I won't say this as a roadblock. For example, in postdocs also, what we do is we apply. Okay, so we apply like 50 applications and we get just one reply, and that is sometimes negative. So I think that I can't consider this as a roadblock. It is just a selection procedure. So in here also, people who are coming back to India and looking for faculty position, they are equally talented. They have equally done good research, but it's just that if they're applying, they're not going getting in that particular university. So I won't consider that as a roadblock. It's just the procedure that there is only one position, one people is going to get it. So similarly, in my case also this happened. So I was applying and I got somewhere, I didn't got somewhere else. So this was there. There is nothing like there is roadblock. But of course, in my case, of course, I would say only for this particular science communication, since we are coming from a research background, and after masters we are doing PhD, which is completely research or postdocs or something. So when we're completely coming from research background, and we are, if it is not journals and we are converting ourselves to some certain science writer or subject matter expert or certain other positions, then there is need of a prior knowledge. Sometimes, I won't say always, sometimes it is needed. So if we can have certain, a certain amount of 2 3 months of experience or 6 months, so it is preferable. I won't say that is desirable, that is preferable. Because I have seen in my company who doesn't have any experience, after PhD they got hired, and at the same time I had some experience. So there are different people coming from. So I think there is nothing for my profession which I'm doing. There's no particular, I would say there is no particular roadblocks which happened to me in that concept. It's just a procedure I was going through, and of course the job clicked.
Of us will get help from your answer, especially the married people. Now, I'll go ahead with the next question, which is what kind of role did your personal network in India play in your transition?
Um, I would say, see, right now this particular field is getting light, so not many people are taking this as an opportunity because they are not aware of it. Most of the people are not aware of this, and most of the people are not aware that there are certain positions there. So, because in my case, I saw that when I entered, I saw there are different positions where people could be, people who are looking for job. They're not aware of this. So I helped some of my friends that just you can apply to this, or these are really good positions. And so this when I came back in 2020, so I was not aware of all of this. I just saw some of my friends, two of my three friends in certain journals, working in certain journals, and then what I did was, as I mentioned many times, and I will just mention another time also, that LinkedIn played a very important role in my like in getting my job, and not only me, many people whom I know, that what I did was, when I got interested in certain, for example, if getting interested in a particular company, or for example, or a particular post, then what I did was I searched so much, and also I came to know that the science communication is not related to only journals. There are certain other medical companies also who are looking for these positions, and so what I did was I reached out to those particular, profiles, and I get connected to them. I also got connected to the recruiters. I also got connected to the peoples who are in a very important position, like manager, team lead positions, and I directly talked with them, and I directly messaged. Some replied, some didn't, and so you would get really help from them. Even when I can't say that what amount of help I got from there, and so I would say that if you're really looking for a job, and if you're really looking for getting some information about that particular area where particular, I would say, company or particular university where you are applying, you just go to LinkedIn, you just talk with those people who are there. You get much information from there, rather. So I would say that that played really important part rather than like personal network, because personally the friends who I knew were very few who worked in the journal. So in my case, I would say, just naming like that LinkedIn played a very important part. I got connected to so many people. I got so much information from there. I know what to do before applying the job. So I came to know that since I'm applying for science communication, a little bit of freelancing in this area, a little bit of blog writing, a little bit of doing science journalism helps. So I did it, and it really helped me in getting those things. So in my case, I would say this played a very important part.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, I'll ask the next question based on your career graph. You had a postdoc position in India. Do you think the postdoc experience is necessary for a SciComm position in India?
Can you once repeat the question, since it's breaking again?
Okay, so the question is, you have postdoc experience as well, right? So, do you think the postdoc experience is necessary for a SciComm position in India?
Not really. Not really. It's not as I mentioned, that I had experience of postdoc, but at the same time, I have seen people. I work with people who doesn't have a postdoc experience, so it doesn't affect if the position you are looking at. For example, in case of my position, what I work in subject matter expert, I think the experience or the knowledge you gain after PhD is enough to work on this position. At the same time, if you are working for like science writer position in our company, the same thing goes. PhD experience is enough. But if you're working for a journal, of course, journal with since with postdoc experience you get much experience for the journals, so that will of course help. That will be much more desirable. So it depends on the particular post you're looking for. So I would say publication related, of course, postdoc experience can matter, but otherwise, I won't say it is much more needed. Except that your salary can matter with experience. That is the only thing I think it can matters. But postdoc is of course not necessary, other than the publication roles in the science communication.
Okay, okay. That's a good news for a lot of us. And next, I'll ask some question about your current position. So, can you tell us something about your responsibilities as a subject matter expert, or how your usual work day looks like, and all?
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. I would say that working in JoVE is really, really fun, and really each and every day I come to know about new things, and and it is very flexible at the same times because we are working in a work from home means our role is completely remote. For example, in most of the science communication and journals nowadays is making it as remote jobs. So it is, of course, you can maintain your work-life balance. This is sometimes very important. Once you get above, like, might be I may sound something different, but at certain age there is a need of work-life balance. We can't work like what you used to do in PhD, so that is needed, and that is one of the things which I feel my company gives me. I'm sure the other science communication also gives there. And regarding my role, there is, of course, there is nothing like you have to sit in the computer before the computer within this hours. You are set certain work, and it is not like per day you have this much of work you have to do it. It's nothing like that. You have been set a work, and you can do it within the due date which is given to you. So it is like that. And of course, what I feel is anyone who has PhD experience or certain amount of postdoc can do this work. Next, I come to my work, which I do is like as a subject matter expert in JoVE, my work is to act as a support to the faculties, to the university, to the students. So in JoVE, there is a division called education, other than the journals. In the educations, they prepare a lot of articles on their own, which is much more authenticated regarding all the techniques we do in research, regarding all of the experiments we do in research, and those experiments are can come as a video, so that at the same times when we have the summary of it, we have a written script on it. We also have a you know visualized thing which we can see at the same times, because as we work in labs we have different we know there are different instruments, but sometimes we forget how to deal with it. So if we have different videos on that, so that is one of the most strongest part of Joe. So as a faculty support, what we do is when a faculty comes that he is teaching this particular unit or this particular courses for that semester, or he is doing that particular research in his lab. So what we do is we create a curriculum for it, and then we prepare with Joe whatever Joe articles we have in a synchronized order so that he can teach us in that way. Or if he is working on a research subject, we just find out all the research articles which would be relevant to that particular research, where he could get benefited by that. So we prepared that, and we make it in a synchronized order in a form of a playlist, which is one of the beauty of Jove's article. And then we put it into their like profile or something. So this is one of the thing we work as a faculty support, and there is it's not only universities. We work with biopharma companies, we work with different other zones, and there are different layers of subject matter expert. So what we do, so Jove subject matter is completely different from what other company subject matter expert is. So, but I really enjoy my job, and there are, as I mentioned, there are different layers where we work with. There are different like innovative projects which come each and every like month, and we work on that particular project, and we so this is something we do.
Wow, that's interesting. So, can you tell us your thoughts about how the SciComm job market in India has evolved over the past few years?
Yeah, it has evolved too much, I would say, and it's really a great, opportunity for all because as we know that people are because when we were doing PhD, we used to think that okay, so there are two options: we have to do teaching jobs or like faculty positions, like working in the universities or the institutes, or there is industry. But there is again, as I mentioned in my first point, that there is another there is another field which is coming up, and there are like different layers, as I always mention, where we can venture in. And so right now in India it's growing too much, and because I took a journalism course, and I saw that there are so many people were trying to get into those jobs, and they're getting it because there are companies coming and they are opening new departments. The medical companies are also opening departments. These journals are coming with new departments, and the most important things that how you understand this field is growing is when there are they when the government announced that there are this amount of money would be given to people who will to the field of science communication. So these are coming up science, like certain other programs are coming up with this uh, Science Communication Award. Recently, there are Science Writer Awards. So this things comes up when the field is growing. So I think this is right now a very important time, and it is evolving very well. Mm, my friends are there and other companies, and I can see that they are growing too much. So people are getting opportunities, and at the same time, I would say that this is a great opportunity in terms of science, because you can do science at the same time, and financially also it is a well paid job. So in that way I would say this is it's evolving very well.
Nice. So, now we are actually heading towards the end of this podcast. So, my last question or my last request to you would be if you have any advice for the Sci-ROI listeners and volunteers who want to make a transition to SciComm in India, any suggestions to make the transition process smoother or things to keep in mind while you decide to start your job hunt?
So as I mentioned that Skyro has, I don't have to, means I don't have any particular, advice, because Skyro itself is doing so much. They are bringing so many people from different divisions, and they are showing that they are also interviewing them, and we come to know a lot from them how to apply this type of fellowships, or how to go through this jobs market. So Skyro is already doing so much, and it's really a great platform. People are to know about the all the markets right now. But I don't have any particular advice, as I mentioned also that you have to be a little bit patient, and I feel that if you're a little bit patient you will get what you want. Of course, as I mentioned that there is a selection procedure. We have to go through that selection procedure. We have to apply, we have to get into that application procedure, and then interviewing procedure. So this is a procedure we have to. I know that sometimes we get we are not impatient about it, but so that is one of my, just be patient, just look into the just look into the right blogs, try to find out as much as information, connect with people. I think connect with people, as I mentioned, and don't worry what he or she thinks about it. Just ask that I'm looking for this job, whatever information can you get. So this type of things help. Sometimes you will receive you will receive a better reply, but sometimes you never know that you will get good replies. So try to connect as much as possible during your job search, or whatever means whatever positions you're looking at, and be a little bit patient into it, and I think you will definitely get success out of it.
Thank you so much, Shohini. We would have loved to keep continuing this talk, but we will have to end this episode here in the interest of time. Thank you, Shohini, for
And
patiently.
I think thank you so much, first of all, to Bhashwati, because taking your time from your postdoc means ongoing research and giving the time to work means talk with me. I know how hard it is for you. And also, I would like to thank Sky-ROI and Manali about this for helping, means, of course, to get me an opportunity to talk into this subject. So, of course, a great thank you to you all.
Well, yeah, you patiently answered all of our questions, and we are really thankful to you for that. And it was really a pleasure hosting you on our podcast series. We wish you all the best for the next phase of your career and hope you'll be back again someday on our platform, maybe a couple of years down the lane, to share more stories of your progress and time in SciComm in India. This is it for today, listeners. Until we come back to you again with a new speaker as part of our Transition Stories series, watch out for more updates from Sci-ROI Tales. We would have loved to keep continuing this talk, but we will have to end this episode here in the interest of time. Thank you, Shohini, for patiently answering all of our questions and giving us some valuable insights into the transition process based on your experience. It was really a pleasure hosting you on our podcast series. We wish you all the best for the next phase of your career and hope you will be back again someday on our platform, maybe a couple of years down the lane, to share more stories of your progress and time in science communication in India. This is it for today, listeners, until we come back to you again with a new speaker as a part of our Beyond Academia Stories series. Watch out for more updates from Sci-ROI Tales.